Jessie is a single mother who lives with her autistic son. One day she made an appointment to go out to sea with friends, but when she was about to leave the house, her son suddenly knocked over the paint. Jessie had just cleaned up halfway when the doorbell rang again, but when she went out to check, there was no one. Neighbors also said they didn't see it. Jessie thought it was a child's prank and didn't take it to heart. Pushed the heavy luggage into the trunk and hurried out the door with my son. But when she arrived at the port, she came alone. As soon as he saw Gray, he gave him a hug. While Gray was flattered, he felt a little weird at the same time. This is not the same as the usual Jessie. Ask her if something happened. If you don't want to go to sea, you can go another day. But Jessie insists on today. As soon as he got on the boat, Jessie fell into a deep sleep, dreaming that he was washed up on the beach. A worried Gray asked Victor why he said something was wrong with Jessie when he boarded the boat. Victor told him that Jessie clearly said today that she would take care of her son, but she was stunned for 20 seconds before saying that her son was at school. But today is Saturday. Gray disagreed, explaining that he might be sent to a special school. To amuse Jessie, Gray taught her how to sail. Listening to his sweet confession, Jessie looked complicated. After an unknown amount of time, the wind suddenly stopped, and the sea was eerily calm. The dark clouds not far away slowly rushed towards them. Seeing that the situation was not right, Gray hurriedly dialed the emergency number, but on the other side was a woman calling for help. Before they could figure it out, a huge wave threw the sailboat into the sea. Except for Heather, the rest relied on excellent swimming skills to save themselves. Now the only thing they can do is resign themselves to fate. God didn't keep them waiting too long, and soon sent a giant ship to pick them up. A group of people cheered and excitedly asked the people on board for help, but the people ignored them. At the moment of life and death, they couldn't take care of so much, and several people forcibly boarded the cruise ship. But the strange thing is that there is no one on it. Jessie looks at everything around him, and always feels an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Gray suggested to find the captain first for help, but Jessie felt that something was wrong as he walked in, and he always felt that he had been here before. At the same time, others found photos of the cruise ship, which was named Eros, after the wind god in Greek mythology. His son Sisyphus was condemned to push the boulder up the mountain for cheating death. But every time he reached the top of the mountain, the boulder would roll down to the bottom of the valley, and he could only repeat this thing over and over again. Just as they were about to move on, there was a strange noise around the corner, and someone dropped a bunch of keys. Jessie took it over and took a look. Isn't it his own? Is Heather not dead? Or who else will get the key? In order to find out what was going on, several people came to the banquet hall. It looks like there is going to be a feast, but there is not even a waiter. What's even more weird is that other people's watches are at 11 o'clock, and only Jessie's can match the time here. She always felt the chill behind her, and when she looked back, a figure flashed by quickly. Victor chased after him without saying a word, but found nothing. Gray couldn't stand this matter any longer, and chased him out to see the situation. Jessie chases him out and tells him Victor might be in danger. But Gray thought she was thinking too much. While the two were arguing endlessly, the sound of running water came from the next room. The two went in and saw that there was nothing inside, but the mirror was written with bloodstains to go to the theater. Jessie is really scared this time. She will get off the boat no matter what. Gray thought it was a prank by the crew, saying that Jessie had a nervous problem. The two parted ways over this. Jessie, who rushed back to the banquet hall, was horrified to find that the fresh and delicious food had become rotten. Lao Jean and Sally, who promised to wait here, are also missing. Suddenly there was a strange noise behind him. Jessie hurriedly hid in the dark, only to see Victor walking in covered in blood. As soon as he saw her, he strangled her neck, and the instinct of survival made Jessie scratch him non-stop. One accidentally pressed his finger into the hole in the back of his head. Before Jessie could recover, another gunshot came from next door, and by the time she rushed over, Gray was already out of breath. Sally rushed up and called her a murderer, but they weren't together just now. Sally yelled at her, "You were so good at acting. Didn't you ask us to come to the theater?" At this moment, Sally was shot suddenly, and Lao Jean was also shot in the shoulder in order to save her. I don't know when a masked man appeared on the second floor and shot Lao Jean quickly. Jessie wanted to save Sally, but it was too late, so he left her and ran for his life. She hid in the kitchen, picked up a self-defense weapon and prepared to fight the masked man one-on-one. But the masked man didn't come in. Jessie touched the deck and wanted to escape, but he was knocked down in the next second. The masked man pointed the gun at her forehead. And Jessie flipped to the next level. The masked man quickly climbed to the upper floor, chasing her so hard that he refused to stop even after running out of bullets. Fortunately, Jessie was fine. She picked up the axe and threw out the hoop, trying to divert the masked man's sight. masked man was quickly overwhelmed, and Jessie seized the opportunity to corner her and ask who she really was. The masked man shivered and climbed onto the side of the boat, telling Jessie that only by killing everyone can he go home to see his son. Jessie didn't want to listen to her nonsense anymore, so she went down with an axe and shot her into the sea. Suddenly, weird music came from the house. I don't know who played it and when. Before Jessie could figure out the cry for help from outside, the scene frightened her.
Hey! Hey! There, over there.
When she returned to the house, she accidentally touched the record player, and the weird music sounded again. What's even weirder is that the conversations of this group of people are exactly the same as when they boarded the ship. At this moment, Jessie completely collapsed, squatting on the ground in pain. Accidentally dropped the key on the ground. Jessie stepped into room 237 in a panic. It was written on the mirror that she was going to the theater. She touched it all the way and saw the exact same scene again. Now she panicked completely, realizing that she might be stuck in a time loop. She wanted to breathe on the deck, but she accidentally saw a group of seagulls pecking at Lao Jean. There are also strange bloody handprints on the railing. At the same time, Victor of the news cycle also came to the deck. Looking at Jessie in front of her, she was surprised. This woman moved too fast. She was still in the banquet hall just now. Jessie explained that the one below is an alter ego. Seeing that Victor didn't believe it, Jessie took him to see Lao Jin's body, but at this moment he disappeared. Victor looked at her helplessly. This woman is indeed mentally abnormal. Jessie, distraught, tells him he shouldn't be on the boat because they'll all be killed. Victor said I wasn't alive, and Jessie pushed him against the wall in a fit of excitement, hitting the back of his head on a nail. It turned out that she was the one who killed Victor. Unable to accept it, Jessie hid in the staff locker room. There were many notes on the floor with the same handwriting as hers. Not only that, but also the weapons used by the clothes worn by the masked man. For a moment, Jessie's mind was in chaos, and a voice kept reminding her to kill everyone. Jessie tried hard to keep calm, but the next second couldn't be calm anymore. There are countless necklaces under the iron net, which means that she has cycled countless times, and Jessie's necklace fell off in a panic. She thought of her son who was alone at home, and secretly vowed to do her best to break the spell. Stop Jessie too from killing Victor first. But looking at the exact same face, Jessie still couldn't make a move after all. Victor was paralyzed by what he saw, and Jessie told him to stay where he was and find someone else to help him. Suddenly gunshots rang out, and Gray had been killed by a masked man. But hasn't the masked man been photographed in the sea? In fact, this Jessie is not the one who got on the boat at the beginning. Just where she touched the record player, the meaning of the two flashes of the camera is very clear. At this time, it has been reincarnated for the third time, and there are 3 Jessies in each reincarnation. The masked one is Jessie number 1, the one who wants to escape is number 2, and the one who was let go is number 3. Number 2 left the gun to Lao Jean, telling him not to believe anyone he sees, but to strike first. Jessie went to pick up Victor first, but by the time she got there, Victor had already been thrown off the cruise ship. Jessie number 1, who was hiding in the dark, in order to gain the trust of Lao Jean, took off the hood and revealed a very cold face. She walked up to the old Kims and said that Victor slipped and fell into the sea. Seeing that Lao Jean refused to believe her, she directly said that if she wanted to live, she would come with me. Number 2, who rushed back, didn't see the two of them, and hurriedly looked for Lao Jean to respond, but was stopped by number 1. Lao Jean couldn't help asking who it was just now.
What do you think?
And Jessie number 1 led them into room 237. Lao Jean was directly killed by number 1, and Sally was also seriously injured. Seeing number 2 running over, Sally hid decisively in the signal room, and called for help from the next group of Greys who were rushing over. After hearing footsteps, Lee hurriedly climbed up. Number 2 wanted to stop Gray and the others from rushing over, but the other party couldn't hear her at all. Now I can only find Sally first, but when she climbed up, she was completely stunned. The above is full of dead Sally. The number 3 below is throwing the number 1 into the sea. Number 2 promised Sally that she would take her out, but it was too late. As Sally dies, a new round begins. Number 2 wants to stop the cruise ship from approaching, but she can't do it alone, and she can't escape. Now number 2 was completely desperate. When I returned, I just saw number 3 injured number 4 Victor. Number 2 went over and told him that he knew how to save them. Then go back to room 237, write theater on the mirror, and throw the body of number 3 Lao Jean into the sea in the next step. Then tell number 4 old Kim and Sally to wait for Gray in the banquet hall. Then go back to the tool room, take the weapon and put on the headgear, and disguise yourself. Her purpose is simply to bring down all number 4 and prevent number 5 from boarding the ship again. Gray recognized her by the shoe even though she packed herself up, but there's no going back, she has to do it. I wanted to take number 4 together, but she escaped. She is very clear about what will happen next, and she knows exactly which step to do, and she chased number 4 with ease, but still can't change the ending. She was thrown into the sea by number 4, but she didn't die. After waking up, number 2 hurried home. Everything was the same as before she went out. 5 was throwing a fit at his son before 2 realized how much he had gone too far. She wanted to comfort her son, but he was so scared that he knocked over the paint. She couldn't let the tragedy happen again, so she ran to the front door and rang the doorbell, then went to the tool room to get a hammer, rushed into the house and killed number 5. All this was clearly seen by her son, and she hurriedly comforted her son that it was not true. After comforting her son, number 2 took out the luggage bag and stuffed number 5 into it, then tore off her necklace and put it on her neck. She wants to take her son out of here, start a new life, and promise not to lose her temper with him again. Before the words fell, a seagull suddenly hit the car window, and the band next to it was playing music, just like the one on the boat. Number 2 wanted to throw away the seagull, but was stunned for a second. I can't stay in this place for a moment, I have to leave immediately. But the son seemed to see something unclean, and kept making noises. When number 2 was distracted, the car hit a large truck head-on, and the lives of the 2 mothers and children were frozen at 8 o'clock forever. This explains why her time is different from others when she is on the boat. The symbols on the drums are also the same as those on the boat. In fact, the god of death has given her a lot of hints, but she can't accept the loss of her son. When Death asked her again if she wanted to give her a ride, she still chose to go to the pier. After arriving at the pier, Death gave her another chance.
I'll leave the meter running. You will come back, won't you?
Yes, I promise.
But she naively thought she could end the cycle. She just felt sorry for Gray. When Gray asked her if she wanted to go home and rest, she insisted on leaving that day. The moment she left the pier, she lost her previous memory. A new cycle begins again.